Welcome to a new episode with ideas and insights. Find the strategies, tactics, and tools for your success in your initiative, project, and campaign. You are listening to the IdeaCast with your host, Tom Wittig. Our topic today is about branded projects. Well, you heard probably from some people saying, well, been there, done that, got the t-shirt. So this usually comes from people who have, let's say, a lot of experience with projects and events, and they have participated in different settings. Now, what we're talking about today is not about the t-shirt. It's not about the coffee mug or any other giveaway. What I'd like to cover today is a different perspective about branded projects. What is it? Why should you consider it? Who should be involved? And so on. You also may want to check out the related video, and there are some more videos, actually. I recorded in the last Summer Academy. I recorded a couple of videos about organizational dynamics and the tipping point of organizational dynamics, and showing some simulations that illustrates the point fairly well. Another interesting video that you may want to check out is called How to Choose Winning Projects, also on the YouTube channel. And that's about leading under uncertainty and picking the right projects. Because before you get started, actually, you need to pick a project. And when we talk about branded project, that is usually applicable for, let's say, the more strategic projects. So I would call a strategic project one that is fairly significant in terms of scope and impact, and that is hard to revise. So there you may want to consider a branded project. So if it's really important to you and your organization. Now, first of all, what do we mean by a branded project? Well, to start with the notion about the brand proposition, really a branded project conveys an attractive and compelling proposition, which converts and engages people for a certain change that you have in mind. And the identification with the progress and success, again, unleashes a virtuous cycle for engagement. So the ingredients for that is, in order to establish a brand for a project, you need to articulate what we call a unique benefits proposition. So what is unique about it? How does it affect me? Why should I care? What are really the key benefits and advantages for me as a participant? It should be differentiated. So that means, how is it different from how we were doing business in the past, for example, or how we served customers in the past, from the past process or the products. And it should convey a compelling reason or a compelling future, I would call it. And with these three ingredients, I think you can already develop a very interesting brand proposition. And if things go well and you create an awareness, that's the whole purpose, number one, for the brand, and you engage and enlist more people in your organization or in your entire ecosystem, then you have a momentum going. And as people identify with this success and ongoing progress, you can unleash the power of word of mouth, which is driving more and pulling more people into this project, of course. And I think that's one of the key secrets, if you want, in how to accelerate a change or a growth project in your organization. Now, talking about word of mouth, there's another saying that goes like this: nothing draws a crowd more than a crowd. And basically that means that once you have people standing in line for a certain thing, then more and more people become interested, and they also want to take a look at it. Now, this is a phenomenon that we can, of course, leverage and use for our branded project, especially for change project. And the key points here is that the adoption of a new idea, and you know this S curve, but actually I have to say many people really do know the S curve, but they don't know the reasons behind it, or what is the feedback structure behind the S curve. And this is something I've been talking a lot about, and also produced a number of videos about. But for our discussion today, I think the key takeaway is there are two things that you need to keep in mind. For the innovation and the new idea to take off, it really depends on how many people have adopted it in the beginning. So how many adopters do you have? And then how much or how frequent is the contact between the adopters and the non-adopters or the potential adopters? And what is the strength of the message? So if you can craft a compelling message, that is creating more awareness and a higher probability for the non-adopters to join in and become adopters. So supporting the project, adopting a new way of doing things, adopting a new process in the organization, buying a new infrastructure, for example, and so on. But also there's a certain tipping point here. So, and the tipping point is not a particular moment in time, but first and foremost, it is a combination of parameters which determines if your change actually can take off or not. So if it doesn't take off, it can create an initial excitement, and then it can collapse over time. But if it takes off, then you see this shaped growth curve. It's like an S-shaped growth curve. So in the beginning, you have, let's say, a positive feedback loop kicking in, which is driving more and more people into the momentum. And then as you're running out of potential adopters, you see this saturation effect. So that is what is creating this famous S-shaped growth curve. Now, the brand in your branded project really serves three purposes. First and foremost, it's a signal. So the signal actually signals the importance. It gives a visibility and a recognition of a project, for example. But it also is a signal for identification, so that people say, okay, this is something that is of high importance, very high on the agenda, so I better check it out, and let's take a look at what is happening here in this initiative. Especially important when you are conveying and you're communicating progress. Number two, the branded project is also serving as a platform for communication and for pitching new ideas. So for channeling the creative energy in the organization and for allocating resources. That's a very practical reason. But for all of these to work, and that's number three, the branded project also conveys emotion. So it conveys a favorable perception. And the purpose here is, of course, to create awareness, interest, desire, and action. So in that sense, the branded project should convey the attributes of the new way of doing things, of the new project, the new process, the new product that you are developing. And I will come back to this set of attributes in a moment, because I think that's a very practical thing that you can do with your branded project. Now, but first, let's take a look at who should be engaged in a branded project. Normally, in a project of this size and significance, you usually have a project sponsor and a project review board, and of course, a project lead or project manager who is running the show. And if it's a fairly significant project, you'll probably also have a risk manager. And one thing that I see missing in most projects of this nature is a dedicated communications manager who might work with an external or internal marketing team to also drive the branding part of this. But also the project lead may want to engage external advisors and facilitators. So, for example, when you're running large-scale events like awareness events or a change lab or a strategy conference, for example, it's good to have trained facilitators who can help you facilitate and manage the events. And of course, an analyst would, I think, also be very useful. One thing that I like to do with organizations is to do a baseline survey to figure out, okay, how is the organization working today? What is the baseline perception? And then also you can map against that your progress with your branded project. So that's a fairly quantitative mix of things that you can do in the on the analytics side. And then, of course, you will engage your work stream leads. So that could be anything from people-related issues, operational topics, but also sales and marketing and delivery topics, of course. Now, during the stages of a branded project, what is important is to kick it off properly and to enlist the sponsorship, but also engage a design team and conduct a kickoff event. So I think that's the first step. And then as you are engaging people, I think it's good to run information sessions such as a basic kickoff, but also, let's say, working sessions, such as Future Lab, for example. And in that phase, it's important to also do, let's say, heat checks qualitatively, of course, talking to people, but also formally with a spot survey that you can run in these stages. Then when you go into the implementation phase, again, here's the most important step here is to pick the right project, select the projects. And again, I want to refer to the other episode that I was doing a couple of weeks ago about selecting projects. But also implementation phase is about the launch of activities and the resource allocation. And here the leadership team needs to be engaged first and foremost to also figure out where you're making progress and conveying these success stories also in the communication, but also adjust and reallocate resources as appropriate. And then the final phase is all about the party, the celebration. That's also what people forget often, is to do an after-action party, but also an after-action review to see what you can learn from the project and do better next time. Now, when you're working on your brand identity, there's, let's say, a toolkit available that you can use, and that is about figuring out what should be the attributes. So what are the attributes that you would like people to associate with the brand and the let's say, the outcome of your project? And attributes could be, for example, things like, do you want to perceive it as friendly or traditional or modern, smart, approachable, etc.? So again, there's a certain framework and approach for that, and I would encourage you to look into that and also to write down your brand narrative. So how would you like the brand of the project to be perceived? Now, when you go to the related video about this, I'm also talking about 10 critical questions to address in your communication. I will just mention here one, and that is to make sure that you tell people when the change and when the project is over. Many organizations working with, this is often a topic that's forgotten. So some people know, okay, the project is over, we have or have not accomplished what we wanted to do, and it's finished now. But then other stakeholders are not informed. So they are in a state of unawareness and sometimes even anxiety. And that's one of the biggest problems in change projects that I see over time. But again, there's more to say about that. So you may want to check out the top 10 list there. So, in other words, what are the tools that you would like to use and you would like to see? For example, a template for a project plan or a project brand book. Simulation. There's a simulation that I put together which illustrates how ideas, let's say, diffuse and get adopted in organizations. That might be something interesting. And also a very simple checklist and baseline survey that you can apply in your organization. So I hope you found some new ideas in this episode about branded projects, and let me know if you have any questions or you want to share some of the cool insights that you generated out of this episode. You can do this by submitting an email comment, or when you go to the podcast on Anchor FM, you can also submit a voice message, which I'd be happy to include in our next session. Until then, I wish you, as always, good luck. When you are looking for inspiration and help with your digital marketing and growth initiatives, please check out our digital marketing agency, WITTIGONIA Digital. We provide a range of support from strategy to implementation tactics and optimization of digital marketing campaigns. From managed services to workshops and compact learning modules, our work supports you and your team. Discover more at wittigonia.com. Thank you for listening. I hope you find this episode interesting and helpful. Please rate and share this episode with your team, colleagues, and friends. You can find links to more information in the show notes of this episode.